A young mother is killed in 1989, and the murder remains unsolved. But this is the story of her son who went missing after her death. This is the story of Andre Terrence Bryant.
Negative K, nothing further, just city camp and a corner. 19 Sergeant check. We've got a code 187. Officers on the scene.
That was, I gotta add a fade on that. There, there was still 18 seconds left. I meant to cut it. I meant to cut it right after it says we have a code 187, and I did not. So I was like, okay. He said there was a code 187, and then it was gonna end. I looked at my little thing. It's like 18 seconds are still on there. So I had to just cut that off, and I will get a fade on there so that it'll fade out. But hey guys, welcome to Code 187. I am Joe, one of the hosts on this wonderful podcast, and I am joined with...
Hi, I am Sarah from Code 187 on YouTube.
Yes, and on this podcast, we talk about murders and mysteries and just true crime stuff because we love it. And I've been trying to tell people this is we're a little more lighthearted when it comes to these cases and things like that. One, we like to laugh, and two, we're fans of it, you know. So we're really not trying to, you know, we're not just trying to sit here and tell you a story. We kind of want you to interact and just kind of geek out with us with this show. So if you hear us laughing or something, just go with it because we're just geeking out. It's like, you know, if you see a superhero or something, you geek out about that superhero. So just go with that. Little side note. I don't know if you know this, Sarah, but
Okay.
when I was doing the intro to that, I was like, I can't find a audio bit that says code 187, right?
Uh-huh.
So I basically was like, we have a code 187. And I had to do so much because I was trying to make it sound like it was on. I wanted it to sound like everybody else. And so I did a bunch of stuff to it, and I was like, man, it's going to suck. And then I played it for the first time. I was like, ooh, that was really good. Sounds like I'm actually on a walkie-talkie. And then you change the pitch levels and everything, and it's all good. But yeah.
You might have to become a cop after this. It'll be your new profession.
Yeah. Yeah, but see, I'll just be that one dispatcher, you know. I don't know anything else. I'll just say, we got a code 187, and that's it. So it sounds like we've got a pretty interesting story here. And I'm ready to hop right into it.
Yeah, so we haven't done a missing person yet.
No.
I don't think.
Nope, we
No?
did. What did we did Kendrick last week, and that one was just a freaking mind-boggling case there. And then
Yeah.
we did unless you do like our first couple of people where they...
I don't think they were missing people.
Yeah.
I think it was murders.
Yes. Okay. So this is our first missing persons. Ooh.
Ooh, yeah. So, and this one is an older case.
Okay.
But they're still searching for this kid, pretty much. So,
Definitely.
yeah, I mean, you could hold the key to solving this
Yes.
missing persons case.
Yes. Sarah's going to lay down the facts, and then you guys can take those facts and dissect them, and then you never know. We might figure this out.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be crazy? I just think that'd be so much fun. Okay.
That's how we
All
blow
right.
up.
Go ahead.
Yep, that's just how we'll blow up. It'll just be one of those things. They'll be listening to our show, figure it out, and then next thing you know, we'll just be like news anchors. We'll have our own studio.
Yeah. All right, so let's jump in. On the morning of March 30th, 1989, a body of a woman was found in the woods by the Eastchester Bay in the Bronx, New York. She had been struck on the head and strangled. She had numerous defensive wounds, such as bruises, and broken fingernails. So she fought back
Mm-hmm.
against her attackers. This woman was quickly identified as Monique Rivera. She was a 22-year-old mother of 3 sons. Monique had left her home about 20 miles from where this park was the day before with her 6-week-old son, Andre. So this is a little baby.
Yes.
And I don't know if you keep up with like newer stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but just a couple weeks ago, there was a father who killed his like 2-day old baby.
What is going on?
I know. I know. I did a video because like I feel like there's just so many missing children right now.
Mm-hmm.
But that one was crazy.
Okay.
2 days old.
So I know being a parent is stressful, but the baby was only there for 2 days. Could have been that
Right.
stressful. So.
Yeah, and I don't think he had even seen the kid.
Mm-hmm.
He lured the mom to a place and shot her and
Mm-hmm.
killed her. And then he said he threw the baby in the Mississippi River.
What if it? I bet you it was one of those things where he got her knocked up, didn't want the baby, she wanted it, and then he was just like, okay, I'm gonna kill you for one not listening to me, and then kill the baby because I didn't want the baby anyway. So
Right.
mm, that's just super sad.
Yeah, and so when I researched this case first, and then that case came up, and I was like, oh, this is a lot like, because you don't hear about babies
No.
going missing a
Mm-mm.
lot. So that was interesting.
Yeah.
But Andre was completely gone. There was no sign of him, a car seat, baby things, or the vehicle of how they got there.
Mm-hmm.
He was just gone. And the days leading up to the murder of Andre's mom had some details about what happened, but it was odd.
Yeah.
So, 2 days before Monique took her son, so 2 days before she was killed, she
Mm-hmm.
took her sons out for a walk. Witnesses say that she was stopped by 2 women driving a burgundy Pontiac Grand Am with tinted windows and possible Maryland license plates.
Gotcha.
Sorry.
Okay.
One of the females was African American, approximately 30 years old in 1989.
Okay.
Heavy set with a dark complexion, she wore sunglasses. The other woman was Hispanic with long red hair and a light complexion. She wore a red leather jacket and white pants and was approximately 22 years old at the time.
Gotcha.
So, I mean, if we knew anything about these women, it was from 1989,
Yes.
which the year I was born. So it makes it very hard for a lot of people to know what's going on.
Yes.
But who knows? There might be one person out there who knows.
You know, somebody who's really into the '80s and everything, and just tracking everything down.
Yeah, or like going through like old pictures on a camera that someone was taking and had seen these women and were like, "That's odd."
Yeah, and there's a lot of cases like that. I think I might have told you about that one where the guy was a serial killer, and then years later, because of his daughter and some of the stuff that she researched about her dad, they found out that all these killings were his and life in prison forever. But he was just getting ready to be free and just live his life.
Yeah, that's crazy. And now we have like doorbell cameras and
Yes.
security footage.
Mm-hmm.
But back
Trackers on the
then,
phone.
people just took pictures and then they developed them, and some were like of their thumb.
Yeah.
But somebody may have caught something. So.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So according to the Charlie Project website, Monique may have known one of them
Mm-hmm.
from back when she was in middle school.
Gotcha.
But that detail's still like unclear.
Okay.
So the women engaged her in a conversation about the children, and they really liked Andre.
Mm-hmm.
They convinced her to go shopping with them, and bought an outfit from the store. And the women also bought a pair of pants and a shirt for her, spending a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
And then they took her home.
Yep.
Now, when this woman got home, she told her boyfriend or husband at the time that they used fraudulent credit cards.
Okay.
So they were purchasing all of this stuff, and it was done illegally. Um, so the next day, her husband's sister agreed to babysit the children
Mm-hmm.
while she went out with these women.
Okay.
And so she went to that apartment to babysit, and the two women did not pick up Monique like right outside of her apartment,
Okay.
but told her to call from a payphone
Okay.
and walk around the corner and meet them. So it's already getting a little bit like,
A little sketchy. And,
right.
and for you younger audience out there, a payphone was a phone that was in public, and you would have to put money into it, and then you would make your phone calls that way. And you also had to remember phone numbers too. Did they used to have phone books in them?
Sometimes,
Yeah, and sometimes they would have
if they
phone
were
books in 'em.
covered,
Yeah.
they would.
Yeah. Oh, we're kind of like we're kind of like right there where the cutoff is, because we kind of grew up with phone, like knowing what they were. I don't think I've ever used one, and so it's like we kind of grew up with it, and then it's just like iPhones, and so we kind of like. I like how we're on that. So yeah, for younger audiences, that's what it was. A phone book was actually okay. Let's
Let's tell you what a phone is now. Yeah, so I actually used a payphone to make prank calls one time when I was young.
Mm-mm-mm.
It comes again where I'm a bad kid. But yeah, they had payphones kind of like on each corner and
Yeah.
stuff for a
Hmm.
while, and now they're gone.
Yep. If you go to like a really bad neighborhood, you can still see like the stands and things like that. So, yeah.
Yeah. So this is getting sketchy. They've done weird things. They've used these fraudulent cards, which could be because they didn't have money,
Hmm.
or it could be because they didn't want to be traced.
Okay.
Um, so they told her, walk around the corner and we'll pick you up. And when she got there, they were like, where's the baby?
Hmm.
And she was like, I don't want to take the baby. And they made her go up and get Andre and take him with her.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So they were really concerned about Andre.
Hmm.
So, yeah. And she was last seen about 2 p.m. by witnesses leaving. And that was the last time she was seen alive, and
Okay.
the last time that Andre was ever seen.
Hmm.
So a few days after the murder, a strange woman calling herself Joan Walker called the apartment. Joan asked to speak to Monique, and when they told her she was dead, she said that was impossible because she had just gone shopping with her and then hung up.
Huh.
And no one ever knew what this caller was talking about, or if why she would have called. If she would have been these women that, you know,
Yeah.
was last seen with her,
Hmm.
she would have known possibly
I bet
that she was dead.
might have been a cover though. To kind of just be like, you know what, just to kind of make sure that it'll throw the police off our trail if we call and be like, hey, where's Monique? Oh, she's gone. Oh my God, she's dead. I can't believe that. And then when they come to you, you're just like, I didn't know about her. We went shopping with her 2 days ago, and now we don't know what happened to her. So, might be a cover.
Right. Yeah, it could be a cover. And if these women know this much about breaking the law,
Hmm.
I wonder if they have done this before.
Yes. Yes.
And that ties into something later, but it just seems very calculated. Like they knew what they were doing.
Hmm. Yeah, and I was, I would just be a little sketched out when if you go shopping with somebody and then they say, "Oh yeah, we was using bad credit cards," and I'd be like, "Okay, thank you for the stuff. This isn't happening again." But then you go out with them again, and then they tell you to you meet them somewhere sketchy. Then you come without your baby, and they're like, "Go back up and go get your baby," and then it's just weird. Just weird to me.
Yeah, it is. And I was thinking while researching this, I wonder what kind of status, like financial status, the Riveras had.
Mm-hmm.
If it was like one of those things where she was like, "Oh, I don't have any money to buy any clothes for
Mm-hmm.
me or my kids. Maybe this could be, a
Yeah.
good way to get stuff."
Mm-hmm.
And then it just kind of turned weird, and she didn't know how to be like, "I'm done."
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I
Yep.
don't know.
It could have been one of those things where she might have, like you said, she might have been poor, and then she thought that if she didn't bring the baby down, that these ladies weren't going to buy her anything.
Mhm.
Hmm. Okay.
Yeah, and I think I read that they use the excuse like, "Oh, we're gonna buy Andre some clothes, so that's why we want to bring
Gotcha.
him." So I get where Monique was coming from, but in 1989, maybe she didn't see red flags, but I was like, "There's a lot of red flags."
Yeah. Oh, and what you also have to think about too, what before, well, let's say the 60s and 70s, that's where serial killing started. So you got to think about the 80s. People knew about it, but it still wasn't as, I want to say people still believed in humanity.
Mm.
So it was one of those things where it's not like most people today where you walk outside and you're just like, oh, that person hates me, that person hates me. It's kind of like, oh, this is some random person I know. They're good people. So maybe she didn't think about all that and everything, or didn't think she could be put in a situation like that.
Right, and these were women too,
Mm-hmm.
which primarily serial killers and killers, are men.
Yes.
And so maybe she thought she was safe,
Mm-hmm. Yep. Huh.
Yeah. So, let's see, where was I? So, the two women that took the mom and Andre have never been identified. They've never come forward. No one's ever said they've known them. They're just in the wind
Mm-hmm.
somewhere. Authorities believe that Andre may have been sold into an adoption ring.
Okay.
There were two other disappearances of Black male children around the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So he kind of fit the profile for these other disappearances. Um, those two were taken from public parks,
Okay.
but they were both pretty high profile cases.
Mm-hmm.
One was a child who was one, who was named Shane Walker, and the other was Christopher Dansbury, who was two.
Mm-hmm.
Both boys disappeared from Harlem Park 3 months apart in 1989.
Gotcha.
So what I was thinking is, if this is this big ring
Yep.
and all of these are connected, maybe it got high profile in that park. So
Mm-hmm.
they were like, we need to think of a different tactic or a
Yep.
different way to do this.
Mm-hmm. Now, earlier when you were talking about the story and about how the ladies were wanting to see him, I was like, "There's black market," But I was like, that was last week. That was last week. So I didn't want to bring that up again. And then you said you was like it might be a big ring. I was like, "Yep." So
Yep.
yeah. So
Yeah, and adoption rings are pretty crazy, because if you think about it, people who can't have children, adoption is expensive.
yes.
And if you are from a, poor community,
Mm-hmm.
um, you're not going to be able to adopt a child. And
Yep.
so there's there could be these people who pick up these children, hand them over, get money for it.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's happy, and then these kids are raised and don't realize that they were stolen,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
which
And
that happens a lot actually.
yeah. And then Monique, I mean, did they even really do? Well, I guess we'll talk about that later. If they went really deep into the case or anything like that.
They didn't. I mean, her murder is pretty much unsolved,
Mm-hmm.
because they don't know the two women that did it.
Gotcha.
But the police are like, yeah, it was those women. They took the baby and they killed her.
Gotcha.
Um, she was just, it was struck in the head and strangled.
Mm-hmm.
There's no sexual assault,
Mm-hmm.
which is a big motive for women being killed.
Yes.
So they're thinking she wasn't killed by a predator necessarily.
Yes.
So it had to have been for another motive, which would be Andre.
Mm-hmm.
So, other than that, they don't talk about her death as much because I think they think if maybe we find where Andre is, we're going to find who killed Monique.
Now, that's just I just thought about like so this was we said 89, right?
Mhm.
And Andre was how old?
He was a couple months old, 3
So
months old, I think.
so you and Andre were born in the same year. So that means Andre could be our age
Yeah,
walking around somewhere and doesn't even know he's a part of this case. And who knows? He, it, in most cases, they do change the name. So he might not even know what Andres' his real name.
yeah. He might not even know he was adopted.
Yeah.
I mean, your parents could lie to you. You look a little bit like your
Yeah.
parents in some way, and they could just, I mean, he could have no idea. And that's why I think it's good to do these like age progressive pictures.
Yeah.
Because, he could be looking online and be like, that's me.
Yes. Yes. It's just really just me thinking about this. This is a guy who's walking around here and doesn't know that he's even attached. Probably doesn't even know he's attached to anything like this.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't imagine. Just it just gives me like goosebumps because you're just thinking you're living life. You don't know you're a part of anything, and then just one day, might be 50 years old or something. They're just like, hey, so you were adopted out of this adoption ring, and we actually found out that you were kidnapped and your actual biological mother was killed for you. And then it's just like, what? Or hell, he might even listen to this and then be like, oh my gosh.
Right. And I mean, you think about it, that guy's in his early 30s.
Uh huh.
He could have children.
Uh huh.
So I don't know if Andre's dad's still alive.
Mm-hmm.
But he's put in a lot of work trying to find out what happened.
Yes.
So he, of course, is like involved. He could one day realize, like, oh, my son's right here,
Yeah.
the same city, even, or.
I'm gonna have
Yeah,
to do something like a brain explosion sound effect or something.
right. And what I was also thinking is I kind of research a little bit into conspiracy theories. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
if you like that type of stuff.
Yep.
But one big one is about how those DNA sites that test your DNA to
Mm-hmm.
like do your ancestry or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
There is a thing where they sell that DNA to the government and
Gotcha.
then the government can trace it. And that's how some serial killers are being found and all that stuff.
Gotcha.
And so they think there's this big conspiracy that the government's basically using our DNA. But what I was thinking was if this guy did that
Mm-hmm.
DNA ancestry thing, it could lead back to him realizing who he really is.
Mm-hmm.
That would be insane.
I'm just really putting myself in his position too. Like, everybody's doing me 2023 on ancestry.com. I'm gonna check this out, and then I just watched this murder. What if he's really in the murder mysteries and he watches like whatever those TV shows? I forget the channels, whatever they're on, but he watches one of those and then he finds this story, and then it's like this guy's looking for his son named Andre, and then he's really oh my gosh.
Yeah, and one of the reasons that I really wanted to do this one was the other two boys are really talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Christopher and Shane. I think Christopher was on the new Unsolved Mysteries.
Okay.
I knew his case, so I think that's what happened. But
Okay.
Andre's not talked about that much.
Mm-hmm.
And so this kid really could be out there and no one knows about it.
Yep.
So I really wanted to do his case and get that out there.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like, you keep doing these all unsolved stuff here. Like, like I thought so we did the missing person, but that was like, oh, the murder's got to be about the mom, and then we're like, wait, this kid. Mm, 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 mm. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I found age progression photos of Andre and then the other two boys as well.
Hmm.
I will put them on Instagram so you guys can look at them and stuff
Okay.
and see if you recognize anything. But other than that, we really don't know anything else. It's just all up in the air. We have no idea why they targeted Andre,
Hmm.
if they knew the mom, if it was just like a coincidence. I just don't know.
I bet you. So let's go with the theory that it is an adoption ring. Well,
Mhm.
they're going to probably be looking for the best looking baby and the best looking attributes and things like that. And was he darker or lighter? Like darker or light skinned?
It doesn't really say, and I don't remember looking at the pictures too hard, so I don't, because I was like, I don't know who that is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if you think about it, and they were looking, if they were looking for black children,
Hmm.
that could have been just a nice looking black child. I
Yep.
don't know.
Hmm. And man, I didn't even. And this is stuff you figure out too. Like, I didn't know there was a such thing as adoption rings that people steal children to sell them to for adoption. I mean, it makes sense that that's a thing, but I'm learning something new about this now. Man,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
And what also could have happened is sex trafficking. I
Hmm.
mean, these are pretty young kids,
Yep.
so they would have had to be raised up in it, I would assume.
Yep.
But that's always a thing.
Yep.
Is sex trafficking as well. So
Hmm.
they floated that theory around online as well.
Gotcha. I I I don't like that theory. I hope he's just living his life and
Yeah.
just oblivious to all of this, man. Oh my gosh. I
It also, I mean, if it wasn't these two women, like
uh-huh.
if that wasn't even a thing, he could have been targeted by someone who was trying to get to the mom,
Mhm.
and then killed the baby because the baby was there.
Yep.
I don't see that happening
Mhm.
as much. It seems like it's pretty much pointing to these women, but
Yes.
there's always it can happen, I guess.
Yeah. And this was in the Bronx.
Hmm.
I thought I was going to go to the Bronx one day, but no. I I thought how I thought the case was going to go was I thought that these ladies were going to draw the mom in and kind of gain her trust, and then after they did that, then they would make their attack, and maybe or something like that. But I thought they were gonna pull that old tactic because I know that's a thing a lot of serial killers do before they make their kill. They're like, "Ooh, very nice, and we'll do all these things for you," and then it's like, bam! Now we don't know anything about you. So,
Right.
God, I just keep thinking
Well,
about
if you ever go to the Bronx, you gotta look for Andre.
yes.
Be like, dude, I know you.
I mean, I don't know you, but I do know
Right.
you. I talked about you on my show. Like, you want to come on the show and we'll show everybody this? Walk around, find Andre or where's Andre kind of signs or something.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Shoot.
So I got you again, but this one wasn't as strange as Kendrick's case. But this one I think is equally important. It's just different.
Yes.
It's mysterious,
Mm-hmm.
but there's also a way that it could be solved
Yeah.
one day.
Yeah. Because I think with Kendrick, the mystery was we were trying to figure out who the killer who the killer was. In this instant, we want to know who the abductors were, and to know if Andre's still alive.
Hmm.
So, um, yeah, and I think this one. I don't want to say that this one might be more important, but I'm just gonna say that it might be more
That's fine.
important because the victim is still alive. Or
Hmm.
yeah, so he's still alive. So it's one of those things where with Kendrick in his case, he was already killed. Now we're looking for the murderer. In this case, it's like he was abducted. Now we're looking for him. We can find them, but it would be better if we found him. And I mean, he was young age, so he wouldn't be able to tell too much. But just to have that release or that relief, not release, but relief. Oh my
Hmm.
gosh, shoot! I'm gonna have to get really prepared for this. I was, I'm just like, okay, I got to get my mind set because she's gonna blow my mind, and I don't have too much of it left anyway. So,
Well, that is the story. So sad.
yes, it is. And guys, like we say, you should do your own research. Help us out. Try to figure out. Because I know you guys probably have a lot more time than I do. But yeah, go and check out this story. See, hey, you people in the Bronx, if you are in the Bronx, look and just try to do some research on there. Because, I mean, this is, it's nice talking about these murders and everything. But really, if just from the information we give, if you guys could Scooby Doo this crap and get this. Maybe we could find something out about what's going on. You know.
Yeah, and I put my resources under the videos. If you want to go and just research it all yourself, all of that's there. The age progression photos, like I said, will be on our Instagram, and I'll post them everywhere I can. Um, and yeah, do your research and then let us know.
Yes, and definitely write in the comments what you guys think about our show, about the topics we talk about. Rate us on Spotify. Give us a 5-star rating, because then it shares the love of this podcast, and we can reach more true crimers. I don't know
True
what
crimers.
I don't know what we would call ourselves, but people who love true crimes, and we can all figure this out. Um, yeah, where else are we on? We're on Instagram, Code
Yep.
187, Facebook.
We're on Facebook, Code 187. I do a little bit on TikTok,
Hmm.
Code 187. Sometimes I'll throw up some missing people on there. Um, am I missing anything? YouTube,
YouTube. I was gonna say that's
Code 187. That's the biggest one.
yeah. If you guys are watching us on video, like, oh man, we do have video for this. Now they're gonna see the video. We're like, where else is it? YouTube.
Yeah.
But
And also follow the Joe Show and his other stuff. He's got
yes.
Comic Corner.
Yes. So yeah, now Comic Corner is not my show; it's Marcus's show. But all this is
Okay.
ran through the Gateway Pro filter. So yeah, well, I guess they all kind of my show. They're all my little babies. I just got to make sure
And
they're
when
doing
it
good.
blows up, he's going to be like, this was my show.
You bet your ass. I'm gonna be like, my production company. Whoa, hitting the mic. My production company did all this, and I was deeply involved in all these and everything. But yeah, guys, go check out all that stuff. I guess I could tell you about my show. My show is basically we talk about everything and anything and nothing at all. We talk about everything except for politics. It's a great show where we just talk about whatever and what's going on in our lives, and you'll never know what we're going to be talking about. Comic Corner, that show is basically where we talk about comics, anime, old cartoons, DC, Marvel. They're really good shows. I think you guys should check them out. And like I said, just go out and spread the love for this show because we like doing this, and we really want more and more people to listen. So yeah, you have to say the name. That was my cue.
Negative K, nothing further, just Kitty Camp in the corner. We've got a code 187.